there. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
I'm Ayo Makinde. It's a Thursday morning. You're welcome.
Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily on Channels Television. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo.
What you got for us?
Well, good news. One of the things that, I'm very much impressed with yesterday is that, finally, we heard the Commissioner, the Minister for Education speak in that full interview with...
Lots of ministers spoke yesterday.
Well, the Education Commission...
quite an interesting one.
Yes, quite an interesting and insightful one. But I also like the fact that he made that commitment.
Which one?
The commitment that he would do everything he can to ensure that the strike ended. He also said something that is quite interesting in that meeting, with the pro-chancellors and vice-chancellors, that he had thought, as of 2017 he said, he had thought he would be able to put an end to the incessant, frequent strikes of ASU within the education sector, but he hasn't quite panned out the way he thought he would. What struck me in particular about it, Chamberlain and Bukola, is if the minister, having been there for so long, what are the issues that are so perennial, that are intractable? And we're only talking about the tertiary level. How about the secondary? How about the primary? Well, maybe that's not all federal, but that's the Minister for Education in the country. What are the issues that are so perennial that he's been unable to deal with? It's something concerning for me.
Don't forget, Ayo, even though I want to share your optimism, because that meeting from 2 days ago is the biggest progress that government has made with the university so far in trying to solve this. But then again, how many committees have been set up so far by this government to resolve this? And I guess that's one of the reasons Professor Badijo from yesterday wasn't so optimistic. And he said, look, until I see alert, I'm not going to go back to work. Well, I don't know how you're weighing in on this, Chamberlain.
I don't know. I don't even know where to begin. I'm sorry.
Quite tricky, really, I tell you, because some of the very basic questions there was, ASU is the one that they're in dispute with. It's understandable that they're trying to reach out to as many people as possible, but ASU is still the main, team, group in this, because, it is ASU that they are in dispute with. As much as everybody, well, I dare say everybody likes to see this, addressed such that they all go back to school, but they have many who will tell you, look, they just have that sense that if government says, look, we don't have these funds, there has to be something about approach to the matter. Some people will tell you, look, if they approach it in a different manner.
It's all about the communication.
That ASU, they themselves want the interests of the country and the students to progress. So how is it that since 2009, they haven't met all of the demands, but they kept on going back to school? So what was happening at that time such that they were able to come to some sort of agreement, say, okay, go back to school, we hope to pay? Was it about the approach? Because if it's about the money, they had not fulfilled the agreement since 2009. So what were they doing, or different governments? What was happening then? Not that we want them to continue in that stead, not letting them get back to school and not fulfilling the agreement signed, but it's about getting them back to the schools. If you don't have that money, there has to be a way to pass across all those messages. And you would have thought that, well, all of those eggheads in government, you think that they could always pull the rabbit out of the hat, but education is very key here. It speaks to the fundamentals of a lot of things. We borrow money time and again. Those are countries that have prioritized their own scheme and structure. So we go back and spend a lot of money in those schools, even in African countries here. Look at how much we spend to go to school. So it's something that, but there are those who will tell you, look, they think the students will go back to school before the elections.
Well,
we're waiting around for that one. One of the things that you said now, since 2009, there is a system that never left. There's a system that never left, and that is the civil service. They are the continuum, so to speak. When we say government is a continuum, that's a continuum, because you recruit someone new, you have to onboard the person, and also the questions abound as to why the structure over the years has been unable to do anything, come up with something. I mean, you set up a committee, then it comes with the report, you set up another committee to review the report, and then you set up another committee to report. Come on, it's like, it's unwinding.
Well, for me, it speaks to our priorities as a country, and that's why the prof didn't sound so, convinced when I asked him yesterday about if he believes, like ASU, that government does have this money, but somehow is not committed to it. And we ask time again where our priorities as far as education is concerned.
No, let's even ask.
The message is not lost on Nigerians. We see every other, year how government officials post pictures of their children graduating from universities abroad, and they're not spending, they're spending money in dollars, funding the education of their own children. But ASU says time and again that, look, our own children are in these universities, so they bear the brunt as well as children of other Nigerians, who are out of school and are suffering. So where are our priorities? Why does ASU have to wait till next year before it can get the earned academic allowances and increase in the implementation of this agreement? So it begs the question pretty much.
Yeah, you're asking where our priorities in education. No, I'll just ask one question: where is our priority? Which of these sectors are we prioritizing? Maybe if we're able to track it, okay, this is our focus and this is why we focus on it, then we can say we have a futuristic trajectory.
Well, who knows? I wonder what the students and the lecturers think of what the minister said yesterday. Were they encouraged? Did they come up with any such impression that, oh yeah, perhaps sooner rather than later, that all of this will be sorted? I guess time will tell. But we'll be back in a moment and take you through some of the dailies here. Don't go away. Welcome back. Let's start with this Nigeria newspaper today and see what they focus on. Well, look at that. They lead with politics this morning, and it's about the chairmanship of the People's Democratic Party on the front page. PDP, as you've seen there, faces heat. South NWC members stage walkout during meeting, insists on resignation. So many were the impression that, all right, maybe they were just about sorting those things out, given all of those meetings. But look at this. South NWC member stage walkout during meeting, insists on his resignation. We're not afraid of bullets, bombs. LP tackles Enugu attackers. IPOB denies violent attacks on Obi supporters in Coal City. It seems to be something brewing here. Some images circulating about some attack on the party. So it's what a signal that is. But there you have some pointed response there, and then that denial. So they weren't. I mean, whoever did it, you'll expect security agencies. They don't need any telling to move into action, swing into action, and ensure that whoever perpetrates that by now should have been answering questions, should have answered lots of questions by now, because you like to have the impression that, look, if they could do it to one political party, chances are that they could try it on somebody else. So you don't want to go that route, so that this kind of action sparking, chains of reaction. But I guess we'll keep tabs on that and see if there's been any such, in case we might have missed it. That's this Nigeria.
I think we should just prioritize the people in all of these, whether they're members of a political party or just common citizens of opposition party. They're people, and we have a responsibility. As
somebody carried out those attacks.
Absolutely.
So the authorities swept it. It's people that they will apprehend.
The Vanguard newspaper this morning has this one on its front page, and it is also talking politics. Feud, how PDP governorship candidates brokered peace with Wike. Find the details of that on page 5. Look at the riders. We've heard from both sides. We'll meet NWC to decide, says Ashiru. Tension remains high as PDP caucus, BOT, NEC meet. NWC didn't move to oust Ayus, scrap to Ologunagba. Those alienating me will account for misdeeds, scrap to Wike. We'll fight for our space within PDP, says Makinde, the governor of Oyo State. Find the details of that on the inside pages. 2023, Tinubu tackles Obi, says party not threatened by fake statistics jabs, says I'll unveil my developmental plans after election. Stories on page 27 of the paper this morning. And look at this one. Is it good news? Over 60,000 apply for 10,000 vacancies in police recruitments. That story you find on page 4 of the paper this morning. Very, very interesting one, wouldn't you say? Look at the back page. It has sports. Chelsea sack Tuchel. Is that the name? Because, you know, I'm not big on sports. And then look at the riders. Porter
At least we know who you're talking about.
Well, important thing. Porter heads for talks with Blues. Zidane, Pochettino in frame. Find the details of that on the inside pages of the paper. This one, Mr. and Mrs. Mrs. surprised, looks at Mr. 8 children? Wow, what happened? And Mr. said, after 4 boys, the woman prayed for a girl. But after 2 attempts, it was still boys. The woman didn't give up. Then a set of twins came, a boy and a girl. Now the man wants identical twins. After, they will blame the government for high cost of living. That's the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
Well, at least it's another mister that gets the blame this time around today, you know, for not being satisfied.
I didn't say anything.
Okay, from Vanguard newspapers, let's take a quick look at Daily Trust newspapers. And it takes a detour from politics, unlike the others. Let's take a look at this. Bandits negotiator. Well, at the top you'll find this. Kaduna Abuja train attack. Bandits negotiator Mamu nabbed over 2 billion naira ransom racketeering. Oh, the story came in from yesterday. Now details are emerging. 2 billion naira is quite an amount. Well, you know, we've always wondered what went into those negotiations and how come those victims were released. Well, nothing could have gone on for nothing. Let's see how it goes. The writers have this one, these ones rather. He has links with Egyptian terror group that's attributed to security sources. We have him in our custody, DSS. Release of our loved ones threatened, relatives. How Mamu family were picked. Now, of course, you find that story on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspapers, just in case you want to get all of those details about this 2 billion naira racketeering. Let's take a look at some more stories. ISWAP attacks, that's beneath the nameplates now. ISWAP attacks fleeing Boko Haram fighters in Borno. And you also find this one. Buhari won't withdraw Rex nomination. That's attributed to the federal government. And finally, Ayu Walid Jibrin, no fate as PDP holds NEC meeting today. The outcomes will be very interesting. But that's the Daily Trust newspaper for you this morning.
Well, on to Leadership newspaper next, and they also are leading with a political story this morning, and it's PDP crisis. Ayu's fate hangs in the balance as NEC meets today. Most NWC members want him removed as national chairman. Well, that's a pointed one. Day of reckoning is coming. Ascribed to Wike. We'll continue to fight for our place in PDP, Makinde. So that is the big lead on the front page here today. And now look at this. Blocked funds. FG to penalize airlines selling tickets in dollars. This has been happening for a very long time, I tell you. So,
but you know, I think that's not coming from out of nothing. That lingering issue of non-repatriation of funds is something significant. So it's only natural for businessmen, especially in this age where every economy in the world is not particularly laughing with all 32. So that is coming from somewhere. And FG says they're going to penalize, fine. But what assurances are we giving the airlines that, don't worry, your investments or your finances are safe with us? How soon are we going to get it? Do we have to threaten to protest again before? I don't know. Those are some of the things.
But that is not predicated on the fact that if the rule says you have to sell those tickets in our local currency, you sell it in our local currency.
Agreed. But then also forget that there is a rule that there should be no blockage in the pipeline from, you remitting our funds to us.
I don't get that part though, because I know in several other countries too, it's not that easy for you to do and then move all the funds to your countries. Countries try to ensure that their economies don't bleed, and then they try to also see that you don't just have portfolio investors who have nothing physical on ground. They want their people employed. They want something. So
I understand that.
And can that be done in other countries, by the way? Every country has a sort of protectionist policy in place to protect its own local economy. And every business environment is challenging, particularly, because of this current global crisis stemming from the Russia-Ukraine war. So will that be done in other countries?
All these
it speaks to lax policies, especially if it's true that this has been going on for some time.
The point here is, if you wanted to purchase anything online in any country, doesn't it go straight into the account of whoever it is that you're paying to? So that's some.
You said online, right?
Yeah.
Those are some different scenarios.
That's why
Where
I'm
are they
just
doing
wondering,
businesses?
No, I'm just saying, okay, if if it's a strictly aviation rule, then it can be understood as such. But I'm just thinking, look, they're businessmen ultimately, and they want their returns to themselves.
Well, I guess they know the rules, so both parties have to adhere to the rules. I guess probably this is coming up because, well, if you are accusing us of bending the rules, all right, we'll look at the loopholes too. If you're flouting the laws, we'll come for you as well. If you've not been sending in local currency, and if that flouts the rules here, the law is a law. It's got to take its course after all. Didn't Russia say, look, if you want to buy our oil, pay in rubles?
Rubles, yeah.
And they do it. Those who want it. Why can't we do the same thing?
Now we're in the same party.
All right. Do we have more papers? Oh, indeed we do. Let's flip to the Guardian newspapers this morning.
Yeah.
And it leads with politics. NEC meeting. It's decision day in PDP over IU. Let's take a look at the riders. Well, I'll take that again. Decision day in PDP over IU Atiku Wike feud. Southern NWC members insist on IU's resignation. Stage walkout. BOT chairman may resign to placate Wike's camp. Wike, Fayoshe, Ayim, Udom. Others absent as Atiku meets ex-presidential aspirants. Atiku Wike face-off to end soon. PDP Guba candidates assure. Now, why party must respect governors called children? That's according to Wike. Ignore Wike at your peril, party chief warns. So it appears as if the crisis is far from over from, this riders provided by the Guardian newspapers. Anyway, we'll talk more about it.
Looks to be deceptive, though. Appearances.
Well, we'll find out.
Isn't that what they say?
Yeah, we'll find out from members. FG threatens sanctions. That's beneath the nameplate now. FG threatens sanctions against airlines selling tickets in dollars. Of course, we've gone through that. You'll find this one also. Gunmen abduct Kanke local government chairman in Plateau. And DSS confirms arrest of Mamu in Egypt. Of course, we'll not leave the Guardian newspapers without looking at this one. Another political story that's beneath the picture now. Tinubu denies plot to sack Adamu, sideline party from campaign council. APC also has its fair share of the political crisis, and the campaigns are just around the corner. But if you want more details, you find it on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Which one is the next one? News Direct?
Yes,
all right,
News
let's
Direct.
try it out. Look at News Direct and their story. FG to sanction airlines over ticket fares in dollars. Just before you go on, let me read the riders. Just in case. Foreign airlines remitted over $600 million to home countries in 2016. So they didn't stop them then, did they? And then says $1.1 billion was made from Nigeria in 6 years. How about that?
All these are, yeah, I mean, you said something quite significant the other time. The rules are the rules, the laws are the laws, okay? And then, above all, in all of this, is investor confidence. No matter what the rules of whatever it is there are, who is flouting? Let's have a conversation around it. I know that, of course, the Minister, Sirika, would definitely know the rules and is not unaware of all of the issues that are happening in the sector. Investor confidence is also, important here. If people are bringing, huge resources into the country, how does it help us to keep them coming? Send them away.
I don't get that.
Well,
maybe you guys did.
You have to rewatch.
All right, and then you also see.
Well, where's Air Nigeria in all of this? Well, I mean, take a look at this. Says $1.1 billion was made from Nigeria in 6 years.
Air Nigeria is not in that.
That's another story for another time, guys.
But where's Nigeria? Air Nigeria. It should be making its own money.
Is it Air Nigeria or Nigeria?
Nigeria
Air
Air.
and Nigeria, either of them.
Okay. Look at what's above that one. Pengasin. They say they're threatening industrial action over spate of oil, theft, and vandalism. So remains to be seen how that will play itself out, because you'd assume that, okay, they know what they're doing, so they're asking for certain measures to be taken to stop crude oil theft, which is.
Well, if you listen to that report, I mean, they were damning, in my opinion, damning comments that were made by the person, I think it was the Pengasan president, mentioning certain agencies in the security service, saying that you set them out there is no accountability system and all. That is incriminating. So coming from someone at that level, is a senior, officer in the sector. So one is wondering, where is that coming from? And I think it is something to be probed.
Well, they know what to do if they want to stop crude oil theft. So perhaps if they keep their voices consistent, I mean, those who are asking certain things be done, call people out when necessary, perhaps, just maybe, you may get certain things done. So, but that's News Direct. Yeah. Okay, there you go. That wraps it up. We'll look at some of the dailies here this morning. Just give us a moment. We will be back.
Since emerging as the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Atiku Abubakar's Asokoro residence in Abuja has played host to many party members, and this time some of those that contested the party's presidential primary with him are the latest to pay him a visit.
Good to see you, sir. Congratulations.
However, conspicuously absent from the meeting are Governors Nyesim Wike of Rivers State, Udom Emmanuel of Akwa Ibom State, and former presidents of the Senate, Pius Ayim and Bukola Saraki, who also contested the presidential primary with him. Speaking on behalf of the former PDP presidential aspirants, Chief Dele Momodu appeals for unity in the party.
Our only appeal is that whatever is worrying or disturbing the peace of the party, we must do everything to make sure that we bring it under control. Distinguished friends and...
However, Mr. Atiku Abubakar says he remains committed to work with all his party members, including those who lost at the presidential primary.
I am ever ready to work with you, to listen to you, in fact, to be partners.
Earlier, He met with some PDP stalwarts from Niger State, led by the former Minister of Information, Professor Jerry Ghana, who appeals to Mr. Abubakar to take further steps to build unity in the party.
We want you to win. May the good Lord give you the wisdom to be able to take the right decisions for these issues to be resolved finally.
Speaking to journalists after the meeting, former Governor of Niger State, Dr. Babangida Aliu, says those who lost in the last PDP primary should show sportsmanship.
This is not the first time that people have lost primaries, and this will not be the last time. But where people have made up their mind to say they must destroy whatever that they do not get because they did not get what they were looking for, I think Nigerians and the PDP members must open their eyes to understand that. However, we must always be ready for reconciliation.
In the coming days, the leadership of the People's Democratic Party will be meeting at various levels to resolve its differences before the commencement of campaigns later in the month. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
All right, welcome back. Well, here we are going to delve into the matter concerning the People's Democratic Party. We're expecting Haruna Said, member of the PDP Board of Trustees and former chairman PDP in Kebbi State. We hope that he makes it. But Mr. Kachin Onuju joins us. He's a member of the party. He's in our studios in Abuja. Good morning, Mr. Kach. Thank you for coming on today on the program. Well, it appears there's just a lot going on. One wonders how to, go up, internalize and interpret all that is going on. But at the moment, yes, the NWC, some caucus meetings have held, the NWC, and then you have the BOT meetings coming up, then you have the NEC meetings coming up. So from some of the meetings that have held yesterday, as it were, what are you gleaning concerning how they plan to sort out this internal feud going on between different camps now, the presidential candidates camp and the River State governors camp?
Thank you. First, it's not, there is no River State governors camp. There is a Southern caucus, and of course, there's a Northern caucus. And the argument primarily by the Southern caucus is that they want to be included. This is an issue of inclusion. So are we aware that yesterday the NWC meeting couldn't hold because the members of the Southern caucus in the NWC walked out? They will not tolerate Mr. Ayu continuing to sit over meetings as chairman. The South wants him to step down, as he promised he would step down when a Northerner emerges as presidential candidate. That Northerner has emerged, and he should simply do that. We are aware that some of his cohorts are even plotting to say that the BOT chairman should come down and maybe Governor's Forum chairman come down so that we Southerners, we don't want that. We want the party chairmanship. And that's what it is. If the North takes the presidential candidate, as we agreed, let the chairman of the party come to the South. That's what we're asking for. It is not too much for anybody to understand. It also behoves on Atiku now to show you can't call yourself a unifier and you're not able to act in this kind of issue of inclusion. Don't forget that. So we are beginning to believe that the original papers of nepotism, which Buhari started implementing, was actually written by this particular group when they were still in APC. So
how did you...
We would not so tolerate.
You know, for when people hear you say that there's a North and South camp, they just wonder how did they get to a North and South camp? Because most of what had been in the dailies was that after the primaries, the PDP presidential primaries, we saw what transpired. The River State governor was aggrieved in terms of how things turned out, and he's made his voice, his opinion known ever since then, and that's what's been predominant across board. So was it that then metamorphosed into what, a North-South camp?
it has always been a North and South camp. And what we have is a caucus of the party from the South, led by people like Governor Wike and all the governors who are leaders of that caucus. It's nothing to be personal, no. And that's where the fraudulent people try to tell this story, personalize these issues. It's nothing personal at all. It is the Southern caucus making a demand. If there are Southerners who have been compromised, those people do not have the right to tell other Southerners not to agitate or not to demand what is their right. We, don't forget, run a representative democracy. Now that the North has produced the presidential candidate of the party, we're asking that the Northerners give up the chairmanship of the party so that that comes to the South. It's as simple as that. Trying to drive it, to particularize it, calling Governor Wike, that is not only fraudulent, that's an attempt to deceive people. It is North versus South. And since we share a representative democracy, the Southerners are demanding that Mr. Ayu steps down. If he doesn't step down, we'll force him to step down. So we know how to get chairman to step down.
If he were a North-South camp, so what about those during the primaries, the Southern teams, different governors and their team and states and that voted for the presidential candidates of the party today?
Well, that's what we have. There are a lot of people who, though they understand we operate a representative democracy, but they just simply run it as if it's themselves that they represent. They will go there, when we say this is for the South, they will go there and go behind and say they want to work for this or that Northerner so that they can get the crumbs. That's not what we're about. Everybody has every legitimate right to turn himself into a beggar, to humiliate himself, but nobody has the right to tell another man not to demand for his right. We are asking, as members of the Southern Caucus, our rights. It is zoned. It is representative. Now that the North has produced presidential candidates, I don't think it will be too much for anybody to understand that the South should have the chairmanship. If you're telling me wait, like people waited on Buhari, we suspect what happened to the APC under Buhari could also start happening to us. Don't forget, you haven't even gone to the elections, but you're already beginning to show us how nepotism that was started by Buhari will also be continued by you. And that's why we think this is very dangerous. We will not take that, and we insist the Southern Caucus of the party wants the chairman of the party to step down, as he promised he will step down if a Northerner emerges as chairman of the party. It's got nothing to do with Governor Wike. It has everything to do with the Southern Caucus of the PDP that is making the demand.
Is there a rule or a part of the PDP constitution that validates this position or mandates that the national chairman should step down in the scheme of what we have at this moment?
Yes. This national chairman, when he was produced in line with the zoning arrangements, and the Northerners complained that they want to run for the presidency, he said very simply that if a Northerner emerges in line with the party sharing formula, he will step down. So a Northerner has emerged, and we're asking him not to step down. But we found out that architects and some merchants of structure are asking him, don't step down. And we don't understand why he say he will step down.
Mr.
That
was
very simple.
A personal decision. I mean, from the comments that you have made, it was the national chairman that said, that volunteered it himself. And we'll come to that. But is there a rule that says he should step down or he should vacate office in the scenario or in the event that a northern candidate, someone from the same region of the country as him, emerge as a presidential candidate? Is there a law that says that?
Yes. There is a rule that has held that rule, and that rule has been there in our party because our party is foundationally founded upon zoning.
Is it something written in the constitution of the party or in the rule books of the PDP that should always be the case?
Yes, it has been practiced since the inception of the PDP, from inception of the PDP till to date.
I'm assuming that means it's an
I'm
assuming that you're making it sound like it's an unwritten rule that is understood like a kind of gentleman agreement. Is that correct?
Well, it's not an unwritten rule. It's an institutional behavior in the party. It's not unwritten. It's a practice. It's been there since the inception of our party. It cannot change now.
That's why I'm asking where is it written? If it is written in the rule books of the PDP, which of them?
In the sharing formula of our party, it is there in the books. And that's why he's now agreeing he will step down, but that he wants to give us the date of when he wants to step down. We should let him step down after the elections. For what? The party, the chairman doesn't bring any value to the elections. The Presidential Campaign Council constitutes itself very, very independent of the chairman.
How do you respond, Mr. Ononuju, to those? How do you respond to those who say, look, the rule that you are talking about only applies when the PDP is at the center as president and all of that? So the presidency, the vice presidency, the Senate presidency, the deputy Senate presidency, the Speaker of the House and the deputy Speaker of the House, those are the key positions that were supposed to be, as you said, zoned to different parts of the country. But that's not the case at the moment. How do you respond to those who believe that?
Well, I will tell you there have been distortions, and those distortions have not served the party well. Those distortions are the things that we're suddenly now standing up to demand that the distortions be discarded and the proper thing be done. We run a representative democracy. We are now asking that representations be properly in place so that we, members of the party from the South, can actually have a sense of belonging. This is an issue of inclusion. I really expect Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate, who right now is seen as leader of the party, to actually show his mettle if he calls himself a unifier. You cannot unify any society if there is no equity, fairness, and justice in it. And they started this. They insisted they want to run. Instead of respecting the constitutional provisions in regards to the party's rule on zoning, allow the Southerner to bring the presidential candidate. The Northerners say they want to run. Now you've run, you've gotten the ticket, give up the chairmanship. It's as simple as that.
So what do you say to those who say that it wasn't only the national chairman that has made a commitment? Yes, the national chairman said that, look, if a presidential candidate from the same region as I should, emerge, he would step down. But then don't also forget that it's on the campaign grounds that Governor Wike said, irrespective of what the outcome is, I will support the candidate that emerges from this primary.
That is personal commitment, personal promise, personal rhetoric from Governor Wike. We are not talking about Governor Wike. This is the Southern Caucus. The Southern Caucus is not Governor Wike. The Southern Caucus includes all Nigerians from the South who are emotionally attached to the sharings inherent in the party, could they call part of their own. And we simply are trying to tell you, we being members want to demand that our rights be given to us. It's as simple as that. So don't particularize it to Wike. When you hear those people throwing Wike, they just want to deceive you. This is a demand by the Southern Caucus of the party. It's as simple as that. The South wants the things being done properly. It's got nothing to do with Wike. Wike is not going to become chairman. Neither will there be a chairman to come from River State. It will still come from some part of the South. So we, as members of the Southern Caucus, are making this legitimate demand. There's nothing about it. It's not Governor Wike. It's got nothing to do with any particular individual. It's got to do with the Southern Caucus of the PDP.
Well, Mr. Ononuju, you seem to have started by dropping a lot of innuendos, and hints here and there. And if you would avail us, I'd like you to clarify. You talked about how some southern members have been compromised. You talked about how some southern members may go behind the back and work for the north for crumbs, you know, and all of that. So who are these people that you are insinuating have been compromised?
A lot of very, very weak members of the party from southern Nigeria. Why do I say this? What we run is a representative democracy. You represent the interests of the Southerners. You represent the interests of your people. So if you've been now given leadership mantle, and then you come there as a leader, and your people, the Southerners, say they want presidency. No, but because of somebody induce you with money, promise of something, or you get structure, you now go behind to undermine the collective interest and position of the South. Oh, a lot of people in our party, they exist. They are the same people you've seen that make sure they would not get delegates that they have a friendship with to vote for a Southerner. They would rather take money and get the Southerners to vote for the Northerner. And these things exist. And we have such people. There are plenty. If I start calling names now, the program may not finish by the time I finish calling names. So let's keep that for a different day. It does exist. There are plenty. Don't know themselves. We know them. That's why we've chosen.
Okay, Mr. Onoruju, even though you have simplified it by saying that it's not a Wike camp thing, but it's a northern and southern thing. But we know that, you know, during those popular meetings held in London, we saw Governor Wike with some other governors from the south. Now, and one of the governors is saying something similar to Governor Wike's position, which is the governor of Oyo State, as quoted in the papers today to have said that they must demand from the PDP their own right, which sounds like Governor Wike's position. So are you confident that your simplification of this matter is that it's a northern and southern thing? The papers, to add to that, the papers also say today that the Southern caucus walked out of the meeting. So are you optimistic that this disagreement will end anytime soon?
Yes, it will end very soon because we've simply calibrated our normal ways of having our views heard. When you're talking to somebody and he doesn't want to regard your words, there are actions you may now simple invest in that will get him to understand that you really mean business. And as you said, we escalated yesterday. It's a Southern caucus. It's got nothing to do with persons. You're mentioning names of leaders. Governor Wike is a leader in the Southern caucus. Governor Makinde is a leader in the Southern caucus. Governor Yokezie Ikpeazu is a leader in the Southern caucus. And you have several leaders like that. They are the ones at the top. But we who are there with them are urging them to go on. We tell them they represent us, and this is what we want. And everything being done is not being done in the name of Wike or Makinde or Yokezie Ikpeazu.
These names are seen with Governor Wike. So it appears as if they are on Governor Wike's side. So this Southern caucus is led by Governor Wike.
Yes, Governor Wike is a leader among the Southern caucus. That is true. Our governors are leaders in those caucuses. He's a member of the Governors Caucus. He's also a member of the Leaders Caucus from the South. So there's nothing wrong with leaders taking your case and making it for you. Don't listen to those who have been Wike, mounting Wike's name. It's got nothing to do with Wike. It's got everything to do with the Southern caucus.
Well, you have the former governor of Niger State. I mean, you heard his perspective yesterday concerning how he feels certain things should turn out. We hope to hear him soon. But then the presidential candidate of your party also met with governorship candidates of the party across the country. And they were of the opinion that, well, they've listened to a lot of, I mean, most of the aggrieved persons, and they were of the impression that, in fact, there were those who thought that that meeting, they decided that the chairman will step down after the elections, and stepping down now may just tilt the balance. It may upset a lot of things moving into an elections because there might be a lot of uncertainty there.
that is not true. Let him step down. We know how to do things. Remember, when Governor Wodo stepped down while he was chairman, heaven didn't fall. We've had chairmen who stepped down. They stepped down. We have our ways of doing these things. Don't listen to those who try to confuse. We have made our demands. And the people we're dealing with have pretended as if they don't hear what we're saying. That's why you saw the walkouts yesterday. Members of the Southern Caucus walked out of the NWC meeting yesterday simply to show them that we are serious about what we are saying. So if they don't want, we will simply show them through our actions that we're irritated about their ways of pretending that they don't hear what we're saying. We also want to tell them, forcing the BOT chairman to come down, Governors Forum chairman to come down, those are not where our eyes are. Our eyes are squarely fixated on the national chairman's seat. Let him come down. We, the Southern Caucus, will find a replacement for him. We want to be given a sense of belonging before we go to the elections. We would not be treated the way we've seen Buhari treat others in the APC, making promises, and then the promises, nobody keeps it.
It's interesting that you have brought in the conundrum.
Just
a second, Mr. Ononuju. It's interesting that you've brought in, some other dynamics, the walkout and all. I think you may want to tell us, what exactly happened at that BOT meeting and what indeed informed the walkout. Because a good number of people are wondering, why the national chairman? Earlier you said the national chairman doesn't bring any electoral value to the election. So why must the national chairman step down now? And why not the chairman of the BOT?
Well, the national chairman, just like the presidential candidate, are positions of clout. The other one, the chairman of the BOT, it's a different one. It belongs to a different class. The two that affects the party directly is the presidential candidate and the position of the chairman of the party. So we Southerners are insisting, since the North now has the presidential candidate, we want the chairman of the party. And that's what we want. We've made our demands, and when it was as if they wanted to ignore us, doing the same thing that we've seen them do, we instructed our people yesterday, as they went for that meeting, the NWC meeting, the Southern Caucus members stood up and walked out that they will not sit in a meeting where Mr. Ayu will preside as chairman. Very simple. So all those who thought we were not serious would now see that the thing has been escalated to the point where no meeting of the party shall hold with elected Southern members sitting to recognize Ayu and him to preside over that meeting as chairman.
Is that to suggest that
to happen from now on?
So if they boycott the meetings and then perhaps the BOT meetings hold, NEC meeting hold, they will come to a conclusion, wouldn't they? And that will be binding when they do.
Well, if they want to run the party alone, force from people from the North, we will let them do that. But of course, it's supposed to be a national party. So if you do not want this simple case of inclusion, if you cannot include us, the Southerners, when you've not yet been elected as president, what will happen when you become elected as president? Can't you see? That issue of impunity, that issue of nepotism, it's a real problem. We don't want the members of our party to continue from where President Buhari has stopped in the issue of weaponizing nepotism. We do not want that weaponized against us.
Mr. Ononuju, now that the national chairman has said he will not step down, he will not resign, what next?
Well, in this kind of story, as a member of the PDP, every chairman will always tell you, I will not resign. It's always been that way. Their opening statement will be, I will not step down, I will not resign. Then, of course, we who are very, very experienced in how to get a chairman out, we will do our things. We know how to get him out. We have done it severally for several chairmen. Are you? It's just a matter of time. We'll remove him. He's not the first, he's not the last, and we will show him what we are made of.
And, you know, some members of your party have said, ignore Governor Wike at your peril. That's a very loaded comment, and you know, Governor Wike's comments too, through these crises, have been very loaded. So, what do you see happening, just in case this crisis are not resolved very soon, at least before the elections in 2023?
As you can see it, if they don't want this issue resolved, we will let them run the party on their own. We will probably not be part of it. But as you know, whatever they want to do without us, let's say how they can get
Who are
on.
we?
I don't think that
Do you mean the Southern Caucus now?
Exactly. We, the members of the South. That's why if you ignore Wike and think you're ignoring Governor Wike as Wike, you do that at your own peril. Wike represents the interests and behaviors and positions of the Southern Caucus of the party. So it is those who want to particularize this issue to Governor Wike that are getting it wrong. If they think they can deceive the public by saying Wike, it's got nothing to do with Wike. We, members of the Southern Caucus of the PDP, are insisting that what is right be done right. Our right be given. We want to be included. If Atiku Abubakar says he's a unifier, unify the party by embracing inclusion. Allow the
when you say you will not be a part of the
belonging in the party.
Mr. Onojuju, when you say you will not be a part of the elections as a consequence, do you mean that the Southern Caucus will defect?
So far, no, I can decide to sit on my own. If you don't want me to be part of what you're doing on the terms that I'm a partner, I will simply sit down. Nigeria calls it sit down, they look. Wike has told you, and if you think you will ignore him, you ignore him at your own peril. If you now think you want to lose, Wike has told them that he will help them to lose very well. So I don't really think there is any sense in anybody saying the chairman should stay. No.
Okay.
Let him go. What is he staying for?
Well, Mr. Onojuju, in the name of inclusion, does the Southern Caucus have partners across the line also in the same, position as you on this issue of inclusion?
Yes. A lot of people across the country are in agreement with us. It is just a few members who are hawks of control, who are masters of nepotism, that do not want.
But it would seem like the interests on the other side have been rather quiet.
Well, because they are watching. Everybody is frightened, and you can see people are so worried that even those who are running for elections, as you rightly pointed out, the governorship candidates went the other way. And when they went to see Governor Wike, we found that of the 17 who came, 14 of them were actually people who Governor Wike helped, sponsored, and sold to their emergence. So you cannot treat those who have built, respected, and looked after the party the way they are doing it now.
What makes that interesting, Mr. Onojuju? Just 1 second. What makes that interesting is, you remember, of course, that when in the run-up to the presidential primaries of the APC, all governors, northern governors, came together and said they want the presidential candidate of their party to come from the south. That was their position. So that's why I'm asking, it's rather quiet from up north. The governors or interests who are on the side of the Southern Caucus, as you say here, it's rather quiet on their side. Perhaps a voice from them also might give some oomph to the conversation.
Well, we do not beg for people from elsewhere to help our case. We know how. We have the capabilities to sort our issues, to help ourselves, to help our case, to make our case also. We don't really want to beg people from the other side to help our issues. All we beg them is to understand that we are pleading for inclusion. If they refuse, because we know some of them might be castigated should they speak the truth openly, we will set proposals to help ourselves. And that's what we're doing. We've selected the calibration of those protocols that we believe will force a good listening to what we've been crying for. We want inclusion. I don't think that is too much to wish for. We simply ask, as members of the party from the South, to be carried along the way it's always been. If the North brings the presidential candidate, the South then will bring chairman. I don't think that's too much for anybody to understand.
So is this inclusion a do or die matter?
Well, if you are being asked to become a member of a football team, you will also ask yourself, what is it in it for me? Should I now go, waste my time, waste my energy, waste my talent, and the team wins? What do I get? If they don't show you from the beginning that you're part of the team, then you probably should learn lessons from it. Because we have seen Buhari use nepotism to undermine the interests of the Southerners in the APC. We don't want the same nepotism
Mr. Kaj,
also being practiced in the PDP.
There isn't any sitting on the fence on this matter, because if you say that you will just sit in the party and see what's happening, watch whichever way it goes, you're playing into the hands of the other political parties who may likely breast the tape before your party. So that means that you don't care if your party wins or loses.
Well, you are trying to preempt me to tell you what I'll do next. No, I will keep everything close to my chest.
No, you use the word yourself.
Tomorrow, I will simply keep walking, praying that my words be heard. I will not tell you, Chamberlain, what I will do next tomorrow. I wouldn't do that. I will simply sit down and be doing what I'm doing. When I do what I do next tomorrow, you will hear it. But I won't tell you what I'll do next tomorrow. All I'm simply trying to tell you is I have options.
But Mr. Onanuju, you already said it. You said you will help your party to lose. That's loaded.
I am trying to paraphrase what Mr. Wike said. Governor Wike said if the party is working very hard to lose, that there are people who will help them lose. He has said that, and I thought that's a loaded warning. People should listen to that word from Governor Wike. If you do not want to do the right thing, that means you're trying to lose elections. And if you're trying to lose election by doing the wrong thing, by getting those who should be your partners across the country to work with you, I think you're working to lose.
We'll go to break in a moment.
Those who are refusing.
Yeah, just a moment. I mean, we did expect Mr. Haruna Said, who is a member of the PDP Board of Trustees. He's also a former chairman of Kebbi State, incidentally, but we'll yet get word of his arrival. But we'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us. Governorship candidates of the People's Democratic Party arrive at the private residence of Governor Nyesom Wike in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. 17 of them from Kaduna, Plateau, Katsina, Nasarawa, Kebbi, Benue, Sokoto, Jigawa, Borno, Yobe, Kwara, Kano, Lagos, Niger, Ogun, Cross River and Delta are joining their counterparts in Rivers to discuss the way out of the crisis in the party. They are led into a conference room at about 8 p.m. and were joined by their host, Nyesom Wike, shortly after for a closed-door meeting which lasted for about 3 hours. Chairman of the visiting candidates gave an insight into the discussion.
We are through. We have discussed with the presidential candidate. We are here with our brother and friend. And issues that borders on what has happened has been sorted out.
He also revealed their next line of action now that they have met with the two gladiators, Atiku Abubakar, who is their presidential candidate, and Governor Nyesom Wike, an aspirant in the last presidential primary election.
The issue has been resolved as far as I'm concerned, because we have heard from both sides, and we're going to meet with the National Working Committee to take a decision.
The next couple of days will reveal what decision the National Working Committee, which may make or mar the chances of the party in the next year's election. All right, welcome back. Well, still with Mr. Kachin Onuju, who is a member of the PDP. He's consistently says that, well, it is that the chairman has got to step down. If that doesn't happen, well, Mr. Kach, that's the confusing part. You did say that you helped the party to lose. You say you're echoing the words of the Rivers governor. You said you're watching, see what transpires. But, and then we also did ask you about why must it be the position of the national chairman? Now, assuming he were to step down, because he says, look, he was elected on a 4-year term, and he will be within his right to serve out the 4-year term. So if he were to step down, does that then mean that the party has got to hurriedly organize, what, a special convention to bring in somebody else? Because it may mean, we stand corrected, that if he goes, then we have to reorganize all the other positions of the party to balance the whole equation out. Will that be the case?
Well, let him go first. That wouldn't be. If he goes, we have mechanisms. We have had this before. We've had chairmen who have left their positions without completing their 4-year term. The man who he replaced, that man complete his 4-year term, he should understand the way he came is also the door he will go through. You should understand that our party is that way. So he is a beneficiary of this come replace a man who has not yet completed. He should also understand that that same door through which he came in will also be open for him when we have finished his welcome. And right now, we believe he's overstayed his welcome. So politely, as members of the same party, so that he doesn't stay there and continue to call our governor's children, he should simply just go away and let us sort ourselves. The party is ours. We brought him from retirement, and we should just let us continue to fix our party. And we think that is the right thing to do. We have nothing against him. We thank him for serving. Okay, it's over. Let him go and let us fix the party.
Is that to say in any way, mannership or form, Mr. Onuju, that the value that, you know, the chairman, the national chairman of your party brings to the table is nothing to write home about?
What value does it bring? It brings value when you do things, but when you become the reason for the current internal implosion in the party, that's not value. You should bring value to stabilize the polity. You should bring value to guide the party to victory. But if the man stays, he divides the party with his stay put. If he stays, the party could lose with his staying put. If he stays, the party implodes with his staying put. So we really don't see any value in Mr. Ayu continuing to stay there and continuing to be the center of this agitation and object of quarrels. I think the right thing for him to do is show gratitude that we've given him chance to serve, thank us, and he moves on and we do our things the way we've always done it. He won't be the first chairman that comes and leaves before his tenure expires. So he shouldn't give us those rhetorics about tenure. Let him just leave and let's do our things. We're now talking about inclusion. Inclusion. So if Atiku keeps saying he's unifier, let him now unify the party by taking decisions and acting to also aid the Southerners in this issue of inclusion. Don't forget how he came about.
Mr. Onuju.
What caused all this was the Northerners insisting they want to run for election. When, after Buhari's 8 years, normally the clock for zoning comes to the South. But the Northerners insist they want to run. And you can see it. Yes, we've been outplayed, outfoxed. We now simply insist we're in the church. Please, give us seats so we can sit. You can't sit on the seats. The seat of the candidate, you have a Northerner. The seat of the chairman, you also have a Northerner. What about the Southerners?
Speaking of
Let
which,
us sit on one of the seats.
Mr. Onuju, this continuing feud between the national chairman of the party and the governor of Rivers State, it seems to place the candidate in a tight corner. Where is the candidate in all of this? Where does he stand as far as calls for the national chairman to step down is concerned?
Another thing, you make another mistake. It's not national chairman and governor of Rivers State. It is the Southern Caucus versus the Northern Caucus. From my own insider information, the candidate wants Mr. Ayu to resign. But there are hawks in the party who are telling them, Ayu, don't resign. And I don't know why. The candidate wants Mr. Ayu to leave so that he could have a peaceful party to go for election. That we are aware. But he doesn't just need to wish. He should work and act in aiding stability in the party by working with others to make sure Mr. Ayu leaves so that the party can be stable for him now to have the party at his own disposal to go to elections peacefully. Because any house divided falls. There is no house that implodes and fighting amongst itself that ever wins if you're going anywhere. It does not serve the candidate's interest that the current implosion sustains. As you can see, most leaders have gotten tired.
All right, Mr. Kach,
they've told the man
just
to
hang on a
resign,
minute.
they refuse. That's why you're now seeing people who normally wouldn't be involved.
Okay,
like
Mr. Kach, just hold on a minute. We've got
party
Mr. Fabi Oladimeji joining us. He is the Director Support Group and Events Technical Committee at 2023. He joins us virtually this morning. Good morning, Mr. Fabi. Thank you for joining us on the program today. Well, Mr. Nonojo has consistently maintained that the chairman of the party has got to step down, leveraging on yesterday, he says, during the NWC meeting, or the meetings that held yesterday, the Southern Caucus all walked out, trying to drive home their point. Are you aware of that? And if that were the case, how does the party proceed from there?
Well, thank you very much, Chamberlain, and good morning, Nigerians. First, let me say that I am here. Number one, that I'm just reading in the news this morning that some of the party members walked out. I've not been briefed about that. But if that were to be the case, I think that as a party, we need to review our activities.
Okay.
We need to...
Go ahead, we can hear you now. Yeah, we can hear you from here now.
Yes, I think first and foremost, I'd like to say that I am not aware that a group of people walked out. I just saw that, heard that this morning. But if that were to be the case, then it means that PDP has not learned its lesson. And beyond that, I think it's high time we all of us understood the fact that there's a party in place, and then and there are processes. I am not saying that the party, whatever decision the party is going to take, should not be upheld, but let the people we put in position of authority take the decision. It's not for any man to come on the national TV and say the national chairman of the party should just go. There are processes. We are facing an election in the next 7 months. And my question has always been, whatever it is, why are we in so much in a hurry, always in so much in a hurry as a party to remove our chairman? Are you stealing money? What are you do? Has he been involved in any anti-party activities? What are some of these things that because we have an election, you believe, maybe the chairman didn't support you or what? So as far as I know, I think it's that time PDP really wakes up and the leadership takes the appropriate decision. For me, whatever has to be done should be at the end of the election. We have an election ahead, and all this confusion will not all go well with the party. I listened to my friend and brother there, Kachi. We know him. I know him. I know where he belongs. So I'm not surprised the way he's talking. We cannot continue to fan the embers of discourse in this party. As far as I know, again, the candidate of the party is working day and night to ensure that the party stays united because he understands the value of going into an election united. You can't blame the candidate of the party for not. He's doing all he can. He's my boss, and I'm always around him. I know the sleepless night. I know the engagement day and night to ensure that the party. Why can't we, in the interest of this country and in the interest of the party, work as a team, whatever it is? Now, let me ask this question, Chamberlain. What will, even if you say, Ayu should go now, and we have a southern chairman of the party, what to contribute to the outcome of this election in 2023? I am here to see it. Is that what is going to make us win? No. What is going to make us win is this: the way we are now. Let's come together. Let's win this. I can tell you that there is no how Ayu will remain in office the moment Atiku, by the grace of God, becomes the president-elect of this country. So what is it? I think I'm beginning to feel that is a case of pound of flesh. And then for me, I am one of those who believe that in the interest of unity and peace and victory for the party, they should just let Ayu run this election.
Mr. Fabi,
because I don't know what it's bringing.
Yes. When we did ask Mr. Ononuju about some of the developments, what lots of people had seen, had been widely reported, was that they thought it was the governor of Rivers State amongst maybe some of the governors who are trying to get their voices heard. But he then said, because even up until yesterday, we saw images of the presidential flag bearer of your party meeting with the presidential aspirants, some of them from the south as well. But we did ask Mr. Ononuju if that were the case, but he did say, no, it is the entire Southern Caucus that wants the chairman to resign. So for those who thought it was just the Rivers governor and 2 or 3 other governors, now he say it is an entire Southern Caucus, leveraging on those who staged a walkout. Does it suggest or mean that perhaps yourself, your candidates, perhaps some others might have underestimated the depth of this misgivings or grievance, as it were?
No, my candidate does not underestimate anything. He understands all the dynamics. And the truth of the matter is that, yes, at caucus meeting, we knew. I must tell you, I personally know that, because of course it's obvious that some people are not happy with what is happening. They have their grievances, and you don't expect people with grievances to just agree with you like that. So we knew what was going to happen. But what I know of a fact is that the candidate of the party is a man who respects the rules, who respects the order, who respects the establishment. We have a party, and I know my candidate will not be the party's candidate will not be someone who wants to impose his wishes on the party. Let who in the party, who have the authority, who have the power to take.
Well, we're losing you there. The connection not that strong at the moment, but I mean, some of the next questions or thoughts will then be, having gotten to this stage where you see the back and forth going on, there will be some challenges. But Mr. Fabi, go ahead. You are making a point about what the candidate thinks of the whole thing. Go ahead, please. Okay, Mr. Fabi, we'll try and get that connection back and bring you up, because, I mean, part of the other questions will then be, he says, maybe Mr. Ononuju will speak to it, what electoral value, he says, will that position bring to the elections? Mr. Ononuju, so, yes, you want inclusion, but when it's got to do with votes and delivering, what value, what electoral value does that position deliver? Or will a change in the leadership or in the chairmanship of the party, how will that translate to votes?
It gives us a sense of belonging.
But not votes.
It reassures us that these partners that we're dealing with have not learned the nepotism of Buhari, in which he excluded the Southerners in position sharings and appointments.
What he says is, look, it's about votes right now, not about sentiments, but you say sense of belonging. So will the sense of belonging rank higher in the scale of preference to votes?
Yes. A sense of belonging is what makes me feel that I should work for a team, the team shows me sense of belonging, then I will know I belong. Then I will be hopeful. Don't forget, you're talking about a system where there is no reward system. So when there is no reward system, and I think I'm being cheated when we are being calibrated together,
he also says that there is no way,
called.
he says there is no way the chairman will remain on that seat if the candidate wins.
Well, the candidate has emerged, and that's what we are saying. Since the candidate has emerged, let the chairman step down. That's what we said. We're not saying wait. No, the candidate emerged, let the chairman come down. Simple.
Well, Mr. Onoju, this is about victory ultimately for the People's Democratic Party, and you have said, rightly so too, that your candidate, well, we don't know if it's true that your candidate wants the national chairman to resign, but you said that there are some people prevailing on him, encouraging him not to resign. So that means that even if he steps down, there are some people who are his supporters, and that means that the division remains and the issue has not been solved, and the PDP will still be going ahead into the election divided, even if IU steps down. How will that affect the chances of your party at the polls?
Well, I don't know. Like, you're very correct. The earlier we have this issue resolved, the better. Because when you now resolve it, you will now go into part B, which is healing. The earlier we have this resolved, the better, so we can start on the part of healing. It's a national issue, and we, as members of the party, are insisting. Why? Because of the optics we've seen so far of nepotism.
All right, Mr.
We
Fabi
want to
is
be
back.
included in what's being done.
Okay, we'll come to healing if there's time, but Mr. Fabi is back. Mr. Fabi, Mr. Onoju says your candidate really and truly wants the national chairman to step down, but that some people are prevailing on him not to do so. Please confirm that indeed the candidate of your party is in support of this "you must step down" demand.
Thank you very much. All I know is that my candidate wants peace and unity in the party. And he wants everybody to be brought on, to be on the table. Because he understands, like I said, Atiku Abubakar is a warlord when it comes to election and campaign. So what he wants is peace and unity in the party, and that is what he has been preaching. And let the party, Atiku doesn't stand a chance. He's not the owner of the party who will impose something on the party. Atiku believes in the supremacy of the party. Let the party take the decision. It's not the decision of Atiku. It's not the decision of Governor Wike or Kachi that is there. It's the decision of the party, and let the party take this. If you tell me that the Southern Caucus walked away, I found that not interesting at all. Because what are we talking? If we say we want the peace, we want unity, is walking away from caucus the answer? You sit on the table and agree. You mobilize your people in the party. You are going to NEC today. Get the NEC to say no. You must step down, and the majority cries today. Why are they creating this confusion? This is my question.
You asked the other time we had this conversation. Just a second, Mr. Oladimeji. The last time we had this conversation around this, you were saying, the presidential candidate has a significant role to play, and now you're saying he's been preaching peace, and then I hear the word the party. I'm just wondering, in this context, when we talk about the party, I'd like you to define it. Now, for your candidate, when he says he's preaching peace, what is peace to him?
Thank you very much. I remember, yes, we engaged, and I'm just repeating what I said there, that we have a party in place, we have the process. We cannot jump the process. We cannot impose something on I never said he's not committed. Atiku is committed to peace and unity of this party because he understands that we need to go into this election united. And that's why I said everything that is committed to is to ensuring that everybody is on the table. And I went further to say that let's respect the leadership, the supremacy of the party. Now, if you want to define what the party means, it means that we have organs of the party who takes decisions. We have the NEC, we have the caucus, we have the BOT, the conscience of the party. We have the NWC that manages the day-to-day activities of the party. So let the NEC, which is the final organ, take the decision. It's not the decision of Atiku. Atiku, you don't expect Atiku to impose, even if he wants the national chairman to go. He will not impose it on the party. You don't expect to impose on the party. It's not about him.
He want the national chairman to go?
You said?
Does he want the national chairman to go?
Does Atiku want the national chairman to go?
That's the question.
You said, does Atiku want the national chairman to go?
In the interest of peace, does he want the national chairman to go?
Listen, Kaldi. Atiku will support the majority view of the party. That's exactly what I'm saying. If the majority of the party at NEC today says national chairman to go, Atiku cannot stop it. And if they say he should stay, Atiku cannot stop it. This is exactly what I want you to understand. Don't mix it. It's very clear. Atiku is not the owner of the party. Neither is anybody. Why did he put all these people in place? So what I'm saying is that the party has a duty. We have a party. Let the party take decisions. I just define what the party means to be those who take decisions.
All right. So, okay. So just one. We need to wrap up. So, Mr. Nonuju, the NEC, he says, has got to take that decision. When the NEC takes that decision, will the Southern Caucus, who you say walked out, will they abide by that decision?
No, the moment NEC takes decision, that is final. Even Atiku cannot stop it. Even Wike cannot stop whatever the decision is. So that's exactly what I'm saying, that whatever is the decision of the NEC is binding on everybody. So the Southern Caucus that I'm being told that walked out of the meeting are not doing well for the party. That's my own take.
All right. So
why can't you take even if you are not agree, go to NEC, mobilize your people and say, guys, these are the reasons why this man cannot continue to stay.
All right. So, Mr. Nonuju, will the Southern Caucus of the party abide by whatever decision the NEC takes?
Well, it depends on how the NEC is constituted. As you could see yesterday, when governors were called, presidential candidates were called, you saw Bukola Saraki wasn't there, he's abroad. Mr. Wike wasn't there, he didn't attend. Payasanyim wasn't there.
But don't they know,
the three major candidates
are they not aware
there?
that there will be a NEC meeting today?
To make peace with?
Are they not aware there will be a meeting today?
Yes, if the NEC meeting is well attended. What if it's a NEC meeting where our people also boycott and then only people from one section of the country say they take the decision? It won't be binding on anybody. For the peace of the party, Mr. Ayu should step down.
So why don't they go to NEC rather than boycott? Can they go to NEC and get their voices heard? It's a democracy, isn't it?
Oh, yes, definitely today we will make our voice heard at the NEC. We will prove our talking and our actions.
Okay, so
that
means both of you agree that whatever NEC decides, everyone should abide by that. So,
if the NEC meeting will hold.
Okay.
If the NEC meeting will hold.
All right, we'll hear you. So, but gentlemen, we have to thank you both for coming on. Kachi Ononuju, member of the PDP, and Fabi Oladimeji, member direct support group and events for Atiku for President 2023. Thank you, gentlemen, for talking to us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, we will be back in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. As you've seen there, Awal Musa Ibrahim, the chairman, Transition Monitoring Group, TMG, joins us next today. Good morning and thank you for joining us on the program. You, TMG, issued a release, a press release. You will say that TMG is alarmed by the recent decision of INEC. Particularly, you categorically say, quote, TMG is alarmed by INEC's position to upturn outcome of Yobe North Senatorial primary. But we do know that earlier, some weeks ago specifically, as you've seen perhaps in that welcoming slide, that the spokesperson for INEC did say that the party did upload the other names, but they were not the ones that won the election. So could you give us some information here? Because we did bounce some of these things off the CPS of INEC chairman. He says he's not aware of some of these things, doesn't know where they're coming from. So where does TMG, upon what is your concern predicated?
Thank you very much. We are democracy and credible election in 2023 is already been under threat because one, there is a deliberate and calculated attempt to undermine the wishes and the aspiration of the electorate by some few tiny individuals who want to obtain popular support and aspiration of the people. It means that democracy and credible, free, fair election is under threat. And we as civil society will do everything possible to ensure that Nigerian democracy is not truncated. Nigerian, aspiration for having credible election is equally not truncated. The position taken by INEC, the latest position taken by INEC is counterproductive, is totally unacceptable, is undemocratic. It is an attempt to undermine popular aspiration. It is an attempt to impose some individual who they think that they are powerful. But this individual cannot obtain the popular support or winning.
Right. So what is this? What is the decision that INEC has taken? What exactly is it?
The decision by implication is that those who clearly got, elected, won the election, got certified INEC report that they won the election. Now, some few individuals are coming behind to ensure that that victory did not hold water, which we consider very, very disturbing. And INEC must not be used by those powerful, undemocratic people to undermine the wishes of those people who have actually elected them and those who also won the election.
So when you say by implication, is TMG raising the alarm over an intention or a specific action that INEC has taken?
It is both, because INEC had already gone to court to challenge what it has initially, verified, validated, and confirmed as an election that was duly, transparently, organized and won by those who have won the election. Now, some people have come, to do the magic to instigate some people in INEC to go and even challenge what INEC had, issued as a valid result. This is why we say it is very alarming, because you are going to impose people who clearly did not even win the election. First and foremost, the two people contested presidential election. That's Lawal and Akpabio, for example. They all contested election, and under our new electoral law, you cannot contest election twice from two different positions at the same time. So there's no way Lawal or Akpabio, who had contested presidential, party primary election, to now at the same time now be given that position as senatorial, simply because they have lose money, they have unwielded power, they have, maybe perhaps, some people backing them, at INEC. I think if we do that, it will really be a very bad example in Nigeria, and it will also create opportunity to lose the confidence that we have worked hard to create among Nigerians, that this INEC is ready to do the right thing. If any attempt or attempted attempt to truncate the wishes and aspiration of the people that have come out to this election, and INEC to also come up with a certified report that these gentlemen have actually won, now to come and truncate it, it will be a setback for election that will happen in 2023. Many Nigerians will no longer have confidence in the INEC, and therefore INEC cannot, because of the interest of just some few individuals, allow itself to be rubbish, allow itself to lose the confidence and the truth that Nigerians are having on them. That is why we are alarmed.
Okay. Well, just one quick one there. You said in the course of speaking just now that INEC went to court. I'm wondering how that plays out in the scheme of things, because yes, the only way in which INEC can upturn itself in that decision that, of course, Chamberlain referenced earlier, is if there is a court order. And before there can be a court order, there has to be evidences. So on what premise then would you say INEC went to court? And for what in particular? Where in the law does it say INEC can go to court on such a matter?
Well, first and foremost, I think INEC wants to ridicule itself by even insisting to upturn the popular aspiration and wishes of the electorate in those senatorial districts, where clearly those candidates won and were issued with a certified copy of the report from INEC, which went there to observe those elections. So if INEC now goes to court to say that what they have done, they have invalidated it, I think it creates also credibility problems. Secondly, a lot of Nigerians and international community are watching what is going to happen, because this bad example is going to influence what will likely happen in 2023.
Just
election.
1 second, if you can hear me, just a second. When you said INEC went to court, on what premise? And when you say, I don't see how INEC would wake up one day and say, I want to discredit myself or I want to humiliate myself. So on what premise did INEC go to court?
So I think INEC should also be in the best position to explain to Nigerians why should they now go to court to invalidate an election they observe and issue certified report and confirm that those people won the election, and only now to go to court to say that what has happened is not okay. I think INEC should be the one to explain this, not even we, because we are challenging that immorality, that illegal and unconstitutional way, and they should be the one to come and tell Nigerians.
Yes. Well, we hope that INEC would come out to say that, but your press conference and the release that you put to the public space is premised on this particular thing that you're talking about. Now,
exactly.
I'm guessing that you saw some evidence that says, okay, INEC went to court. Now, in some of those things that you probably saw, what were the prayers? What were the things that you saw in that piece of order or whatever court document that made you concerned?
No, first and foremost, we did not go to court. It is the INEC that have gone to court, and therefore INEC has moral and legal and constitutional responsibility to explain to Nigerians why they are challenging a valid election, an election that they even confirmed it was a valid election, an election that they observed, election that everybody witnessed that a candidate won overwhelmingly. Secondly, INEC should explain to Nigerians why the Constitution, the Electoral Act, clearly prohibits people from contesting election twice at the same time. This time around, now INEC wants to set aside that constitutional, or that is, the legal provision in the Electoral Act to now give way for people who had actually contested. In fact, what we are asking INEC to do is to prosecute those people. They should prosecute them for actually contesting twice because the Electoral Act prohibits them. Is it because they are big, people? What is big when you break the law? I think, we need to respect our law. We cannot, allow impunity in the electoral system. If you do that, you will truncate the confidence Nigerians have now gave to the INEC. We are calling on INEC to do everything possible not to allow Nigerians to lose confidence in this election, because if they do that, it means that a lot of people will not even participate. And we work hard to mobilize Nigerians to say, look, the only way to change the bad leaders is to participate and elect credible people. But if people will now come through the back door, use all manipulative ways to come, I think that will be a very sad development, and that will clearly send a signal that 2023 will not be free, fair, credible, and will not actually get the acceptance that is required. INEC must stay clear from these politics and politicians that are influencing the popular decision of the people that clearly came out overwhelmingly supported the candidate they wanted and declared already winner by the party, and INEC confirming that, and even the police, So we cannot simply sit down and watch some people who have lost gallantly in the presidential election to now come and impose themselves as if this democracy it belonged to them. When this democracy was fought, where were they? They only came, and through, whatever it is, they found themselves as rulers, not even leaders, as rulers, because they are imposing themselves on people. I think it is important that we respect the rule of law. It is important that INEC respect its own, electoral, act. INEC must ensure that no politician is using them to undermine democracy that we all collectively work hard to have. We need to consolidate democracy, and one of the ways to consolidate democracy is to ensure that there's a free, fair, and credible election, and that INEC is not a toy. It's not been,
Indeed, Mr. Musa, and the All Progressives Congress, the party, has insisted that the Senate President, Mr. Ahmed Lawan, is its candidate, and that the case is in court. And you have also said that you have condemned this latest action by INEC for going to court. Now, beyond your press release and beyond, television appearances like this, how do you intend to hold INEC to account?
Well, as a civil society organization, we don't have the power to impose, but we have the power to mobilize, conscientize Nigerians, create the necessary awareness, and draw the legal implication and constitutional contradiction of what some people want to do. The APC cannot have that position if they are truly a serious political party that want to uphold the rule of law, because the Electoral Act clearly prohibits anybody from contesting election twice at the same time. This candidate that they are talking about, the Senate President, everybody knows in this country that he had contested presidential election and he has failed woefully. So why can't he respect that and support whatever the outcome that everybody knows? Why must he remain there? And what guarantee has he got, or even has APC got, that this same candidate, Apabio and Lowell, they will win the election in 2023? I think it is important that we play this in, based on the legal and based on also respect of rule of law, as well as respecting the popular aspiration of Nigerians. If you impose this to people, I can assure you that Nigerians will have doubt about the ability to conduct this election in a manner that will be transparent, that will actually, meet the yearning and aspiration of Nigerians. INEC must not enter this kind of joke, this kind of funny thing. If the political parties are not having the self-respect, INEC as an independent body should have that self-respect and not allow anybody to, actually push them to do things that are not really good. Because I can tell you that even if they go ahead to do this, these people cannot stand the test of the law. Because even if they impose themselves and they went to election and they won at the election, people will go to court and they will challenge their primary election because they clearly are disqualified. In fact, what we should be telling INEC to do is to prosecute anybody who is attempting to go back and do this, because the Electoral Act is not just for decoration, it is to be operationalized. Okay. And Mr.
Ibrahim, you know, much as the concerns may be understood, but the National Commissioner, Mr. Festus Okoye of INEC, did say, he's been quoted copiously today, as a matter of fact, that there was an interview he did where he said that the ruling party have no candidate for Yobe North and Akwa Ibom Northwest senatorial positions. And then he also did say that names were submitted from the party, and INEC made a determination that these names were not the ones that emerged from a validly conducted primary, and as such, there's nothing they can do about that. That is where they are at the moment. So would you take some solace or comfort with that narrative that that is coming through from the National Commissioner for INEC, Mr. Festus Okoye?
Well, Festus is my senior comrade, and we have established a good working relationship with INEC, but that notwithstanding, if there's any deviation from the constitutional provision or from the Electoral Act that they are supposed to safeguard, we will advise not to go into that direction. So we are not confrontational, but we are only drawing the contradiction, because right now, as it is now, will you now say that it is a Akpabio name that has been brought when he had contested presidential election? Will you now say, Lowell, the Senate president, it is his name that is now presented when he clearly contested presidential election? The law is very clear. The thing is very clear. These people did not contest the senatorial election. Why are you now coming to tell the whole world that the name of the people who duly won the election, and you, INEC, went there to observe and gave reports, you know, certified report that these are the people that have gone there and witnessed and confirmed they won the election? Now you want to come and say something else. Which party did is it not APC that organized the party primaries in Yobe and Akwa Ibom, where the Senator Akpabio contested a lot? I mean, where the Akpabio and the Lowell, you know, senatorial district, those who won the election won? Well, we just want to mock ourselves. I think something needs to be done to draw the attention of the relevant authority to ensure that we have peaceful election in this country.
Okay.
You cannot create, you know, political violence, because what you are trying to do now is tantamount to creating political violence.
But then, what do you make of that position that the APC has held thus far about this issue? I know that you've speeded around that, but what would you say is informing that position of the party that, look, these are our candidates, and INEC is saying the exact opposite, at least as at now?
No, it means, it's very simple. It means that, you know, APC is desperate to compensate those who have gladly lost the election, and they want to compensate them by imposing and breaking the law. This is just the interpretation of that. APC members are not happy because some of the APC members, you know, in both Akwa Ibom and Yobe are not happy that election held, you know, their choice candidate won, and it, you know, clearly issued certified report for that, and even the police was, you know, was there. So how comes are you now coming to say that you have changed this? And is it not the same APC that went there, Yobe and Akwa Ibom, to organize that election? Why are they saying that, you know, this is not their candidate now? Look, the APC leadership must save this country from political crisis and loss of confidence on democracy. We have been working very hard to get Nigerians to agree that the only solution we have is to have constitutional democracy through, you know, participation of Nigerians. And if these people are doing this, and they will continue to send away Nigerians from participating in the electoral process, and that's not good. So I think the leadership at APC must respect its own law also. It must also respect the Electoral Act. Any attempt to, do something that is different from this, it tantamount to clearly impunity and breaking the law of the country. We are talking about, actually prosecuting these people who want to impose themselves. Now we are even trying to reward them again. What kind of democracy and what kind of political party system are we having in the country? Political party system should be a system that can be emulated. Even when you get into the government, you will be able to, through, well-constructed, ideologically focused political party, be able to carry along people through your, program that will be really meant to ensure more transparency, more good governance. Now, if you do all this stealing by the door, what transparency are you going to come and talk?
All right,
or
Mr. Ibrahim, we need to anchor at that point. We do appreciate your time this morning. Our Musa Ibrahim, Chairman, Transition Monitoring Group. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, so there you go. Some concerns being raised there about that Yobe North Senatorial seat and the Akwa Ibom Northwest Senatorial seat. I mean, there's a case coming up in the courts actually on September 12th, so we'll keep tabs on that for the Yobe North seat to see what happens with that, because, I mean, some have said that a certain Tijani Tumsa, who they also call TMT, did purchase from for Yobe North Senatorial primary, but he didn't participate, they say, and some wonder, now that that matter is in court between Machina and two others, how will the pendulum swing, given the position of Mr. Okoye of INEC, who said that, and even if the ruling party is trying to change it, we know the law says it's the party that is responsible for bringing candidates. But INEC says, well, we have made a determination. These are not the people who came through, so now it's gone to the courts.
Well, I can see the affidavit here.
Yeah.
And the individuals named here are All Progressives Congress, Ahmed Lawan, and the third is Independent National Electoral Commission, unless INEC comes out to debunk this. But the individual here is Mohammed Ayuba, a Nigerian citizen and assistant executive officer in the litigation and prosecution department of the third defendant. In its head of plots, well, that's the address.
The defendant's not plaintiff, so yeah. It's quite understandable.
It will take time to go through all of the prayers of INEC in this particular affidavit, but then again, perhaps this is what Mr. Musa Ibrahim is speaking to when he's suggesting that INEC has now backtracked in its earlier position of saying that indeed Mr. Machina and who's the other candidate now of the other party won the election in Akwa Ibom and Yobe states.
Has INEC really backtracked? Let INEC do what it normally does. Put out a statement and say this.
Other than the ones that is out there.
Other than the ones that is out there.
You want a fresh statement?
All of these that are making the mills now is just like, what is something like in the rumor mills and all. Has INEC backtracked?
All right, guys.
Has INEC changed its position? Let's see a report today.
Okay. We're waiting for that.
Even though there's a position that they put out already. So that is where they are. So who knows if people are waiting for more. So that's it, though.
Okay. Well, this message is very quickly. Henry OKK, you sent in an email, and this is one of them. The ability to resolve internal crisis as quick as possible is the best attitude of a political party that is ready to win elections. Mutual trust and national interest should be the guiding principle for amicable resolution of internal party crisis.
And from there, we have Festus Akiboyewa. He says, the crisis in PDP, our main opposition party, is coming at a bad time for our country when Nigerians are dealing with high inflation, ASU strike, potential labor unrest, insecurity, economic crisis, and general high cost of living crisis. Time to sheath the sword. And, well, let's just quickly take Adams. Adams also says it's an...
Why don't you...
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't monopolize it.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
All right. It's an odoriferous shamble for politicians.
Say what?
To tag their candidates as warriors.
Is that why you ran away from the tweet?
What? I think that's why you ran away. As warriors, juggernauts in politics. In fact, Nigerians do not need political gurus now. What is needed is a right-thinking fellow with capacity to rescue the nation. That's all.
Drop the mic, right? drop the mic moment, isn't it?
And I like that he's that's all. That's all. Is the way the street puts it. Well, that's the program today. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Indeed. Thank you for watching. I'm Bukola Samuel Wemimo.
And I am Chamberlain Oso. Goodbye.